hadn't heard it in years, not spoken out loud. "Riley," I said before she could clarify. Marisol nodded once. Her expression tightened. Riley Johnson had been 8 years old when she disappeared. A tooth-gap smile, blonde hair always in a tangled ponytail. I remembered her because she'd been at the same beach bonfire one summer with her older cousin, trailing behind them with a glow stick looped around her wrist like a leash. Then, one November, after a storm big enough to scatter logs across the highway and rip crab pots from their lines, Riley was gone. The town had searched. The Coast Guard had searched. Volunteers with flashlights scoured the dunes until their feet bled. Dad had been part of it. I remembered him coming home soaked and silent, his jaw clenched so tight it seemed like it might crack. They never found her. After a few months, the search became less urgent. People stopped saying her name. The missing posters faded on the grocery store bulletin board until someone took them down. "Why are you bringing up Riley?" I asked, though I already knew the answer in the way you know a storm is coming because your bones ache. Marisol's gaze flicked toward the window, where fog pressed against glass like breath. "Because," she said slowly, "your dad's radio. He used it during that search. He lived on it for months." "It was 15 years ago," I said, but my voice sounded hollow. Marisol didn't argue. "There were rumors," she said carefully. "Rumors?" I echoed. She hesitated, as if weighing what I deserved to know. "That he heard something that night," she said. "Something odd. A transmission. A kid's voice. People said he kept hearing it, like it was stuck." My mouth went dry. "That's..." I started. Marisol's eyes met mine. "I've never told you this," she said, "because you left and it felt cruel. But I heard it too, once, at the bar years ago. Some fisherman was drunk, messing with a handheld radio, and this voice came through, just for a second, like someone calling from far away." She swallowed. "It scared the hell out of me." I stared at her, my mind trying to slam doors shut against the idea. "You're saying Riley..." "I'm saying I don't know." Marisol's voice sharpened with frustration, maybe at herself. "But people here have a way of carrying things in their pockets and pretending they're not heavy." The soup boiled over, snapping my attention back. I turned off the burner with shaking fingers. Marisol reached out and squeezed my wrist. "Hey," she said. "Eat. Breathe. We'll check the radio together. We'll figure out if someone's just screwing around." I nodded, because nodding was easier than speaking. We ate at the kitchen table where Dad used to sit with his coffee and the newspaper. The soup tasted like salt, though it shouldn't have. Every so often my eyes drifted to the hallway leading to my old room, where the unlabeled tape sat like a small black eye. After we'd eaten, Marisol insisted we start with practical tasks. Trash bags, sorting papers, opening windows to air out the house. Normal things, the way you anchor yourself. But the house resisted normal. When Marisol opened the living room window, a gust of fog rolled in so thick it looked like smoke, curling into the room. The air grew colder. The curtains billowed as if something had rushed past them. Marisol swore under her breath and shut the window quickly. "Okay," she muttered. "We're not airing out today." I tried to laugh. It came out brittle. "Let's check the garage," Marisol said after a beat. She grabbed her jacket again. "Now." The garage felt different with her there. Less like a private memory, more like a room. The radio sat on its table, dark. Marisol stepped near it, then paused, as if expecting it to wake. "Was it plugged in?" she asked. I traced the cord. It ran to an outlet. Plugged in, yes, but the switch was off. "I didn't touch it," I said. Marisol crouched and examined the back like she knew what she was doing, though I think she was mostly buying time. "Could be a short," she said. "Could be..." Static burst suddenly from the speaker, loud enough to make us both jerk. The display flickered on, green light blooming. Channel 16. The static hissed and popped. Marisol's eyes widened. "Okay," she whispered. The speaker crackled. For a moment it was only noise, the kind that fills your skull and makes you feel like your teeth are buzzing. Then, threaded through it, came a sound like a child trying not to cry. A breath, a hitch. "Leah." Marisol's hand flew to her mouth. I felt my stomach drop hard, as if the floor had vanished. The voice continued, faint and wavering. "Don't..." Static swallowed the word, spit it out. "Don't lock..." The speaker popped sharply. The display flickered. "Don't lock what?" I heard myself say. And this time my voice came out, forced through the tightness in my throat. The static responded like laughter. Marisol grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. "Turn it off," she hissed. I started, but my hand moved on instinct, fingers fumbling for the power switch. Before I could flip it, the voice came again, clearer than before. So close it sounded like it was right beside my ear. "Low tide." Then the radio screamed. One harsh burst of feedback that made the garage lights flicker, before going silent and dark again. We stood frozen, our breathing loud. "What the hell was that?" I whispered. Marisol's grip on my arm loosened slowly. Her face was pale. "That was..." she started, then stopped, because there were no words that made it normal. I stared at the dead radio. "Someone could be..." Marisol shook her head hard. "No," she said. "No, Leah. That's not someone on a boat. That sounded..." She swallowed. "That sounded like it was in here." A sound came from inside the house, soft, like the creak of a floorboard. Both of us turned toward the door to the kitchen. Marisol's eyes narrowed. "Are we alone?" she whispered. "Yes," I said, though the certainty in my voice was gone. We went back inside together, moving slowly, like people entering a room they suspected held an animal. The kitchen was empty. The hallway was empty. But as we stood there listening, we both heard it. 3 soft knocks. Tap, tap, tap. From my old bedroom door. Marisol's gaze snapped to mine. "That room," she whispered. I nodded. We approached the door as if it might open on its own. The house felt colder. The air tasted faintly of salt, sharp and metallic. Marisol reached for the knob, then hesitated. "Do you want me to?" "I'll do it," I said, though my legs felt weak. My hand closed around the knob. Cold, damp, as if someone with wet fingers had just touched it. I turned it and pushed. The room smelled different now, stronger, like seaweed and wet sand. The desk sat by the window. The tape still lay there, but it had shifted, angled slightly, like it had been nudged. On the carpet near the bed, dark, wet footprints marked the floor. Small footprints, bare, toes splayed. They led from the center of the room to the closet door and stopped. Marisol inhaled sharply. "No," she whispered. "Nope, absolutely not." My voice came out thin. "This is water," I said stupidly, because naming it felt like control. I crouched and touched one of the prints with the tip of my finger. Cold, wet, and gritty, like there was sand in it. My stomach rolled. I looked at the closet door. It was shut. The handle was old brass with a faint tarnish. I remembered hiding in that closet as a child during thunderstorms, pretending the darkness was a cave where nothing could reach me. Now it looked like a mouth. Marisol stood behind me, her breath shallow. "Leah," she said, almost pleading. "Don't." But the pull was already in me, like the tide. I stood and reached for the closet handle. My hand closed around it. The brass was slick, as if damp. I yanked. The closet door swung open with a creak. Empty. Just hanging shirts from years ago, a cardboard box, a few old coats. No child, no water, no obvious source of footprints. But the air inside the closet was colder than the room, and it smelled stronger. Salt and something else. Something sweet and wrong, like old flowers left in water too long. And on the back wall of the closet, faint and wet as if traced by a finger, were words. 3 of them, smeared and dripping down the paint. "Let me out." Marisol made a sound that wasn't quite a scream and backed into the hallway. "No," she said again, louder now, as if the word could ward the room off. "No, Leah, no." My throat tightened so hard it hurt. I stared at the words. They shimmered slightly, as if the wall itself was sweating. I forced myself to blink, to look away and back. The words were still there. Then, as I watched, water ran down from the letters, and the paint beneath them lightened, as if the wall were drying in real time. The words faded, smearing into nothing. Within seconds, the wall was blank again, like it had never happened. I stood rooted, my mind scrambling for something rational to latch onto, and finding nothing. Marisol grabbed my arms and hauled me backward. "We're leaving," she said fiercely. "We are not doing whatever this is." "I can't," I managed. "It's my dad's house. I have to." Marisol's eyes flashed with anger. "This isn't about your dad's house," she said. "This is about..." She stopped, swallowed hard. "This is about Riley." The name made the air feel heavier. My chest tightened. "Riley's dead," I whispered. Because that's what you tell yourself when a missing person has been missing longer than a childhood. Marisol's jaw clenched. "Maybe," she said. But whatever that was, wants something. I looked back into my room. The footprints were fading already, as if the carpet were drinking them up. The tape sat on the desk like bait. What does it want? I asked, though part of me already knew. Marisol's gaze followed mine to the tape. Maybe it wants you to listen, she said reluctantly. My mouth went dry. There's no cassette player. Marisol exhaled hard through her nose. My truck has an old one, she said. Don't ask why. I never got around to replacing the stereo. I stared at her. You'd let me play this thing in your truck? Marisol gave me a look that said, we are already past the point where your choices make sense. We're not playing it in the house, she snapped. We drove with the tape sitting between us and the cup holder like something alive. The rain thickened into real drops, heavier now, drumming on the windshield. The fog followed us, pooling in the low spots of the road. Harbour Point slid by in blurred shapes. The diner, the darkened storefronts, the harbour with its rocking boats. Marisol drove toward the beach access near the old jetty, the place where the town always ended up when something bad happened, the place where you could see far enough to feel small. Why here? I asked, my voice a whisper. Marisol's knuckles were white on the wheel. Because, she said, if that voice is Riley, it came from the water. If it wants you to listen, you should listen where she disappeared. The logic was terrible. It was also the only logic I had. We parked in the gravel lot by the dunes. The lot was empty. No tourists in this weather, no surfers. The ocean beyond was a flat, grey expanse, whitecaps like torn paper. The jetty stretched out into it, black rocks slick with rain. Marisol turned off the engine. Silence fell, punctuated by the distant boom of waves against stone. She picked up the tape with 2 fingers like it was dirty and shoved it into the cassette slot. The stereo whirred. The tape clicked into place. For a moment, there was nothing. Then a hiss, low, familiar cassette hiss, followed by a sound like wind caught in a microphone. A voice came through, muffled and distant. Not a child, a man. Dad. Log entry, his voice said, rougher than I remembered. November. I don't know. It's late. Low visibility. My breath caught. I stared at the stereo display, though it showed only meaningless numbers. Marisol's eyes were wide, fixed on the windshield as if refusing to look at me. Dad's voice continued, punctuated by static. Channel 16's full of noise tonight. Fog's messing with everything. We're coordinating with the Coast Guard out of Astoria. Search pattern along the jetty in the South Dunes. Missing female juvenile. Riley Johnson. The name landed like a stone. My palms went sweaty. This is from the search, I whispered. Marisol nodded once, stiff. Dad spoke like he was trying to be calm while his body held panic. I keep thinking I hear her, like she's still calling. But it's just the radio, just the damn radio. Behind his voice, faintly, came other voices. Men calling out, waves, the background chaos of a search. Then, abruptly, a child's voice cut through the tape, clear as if she were in the truck. Help me! Marisol jolted. My heart slammed against my ribs. Dad's voice stuttered. Hello? Riley? Static surged. The child's voice came again, strained. "It's dark." Dad swore, low, shocked. "Where are you?" The tape hissed. There was a sharp sound like a mic being grabbed. "Say again?" Dad said, his voice suddenly harsh. "Riley, say again." The child's voice wavered like it was going underwater. "In the..." Static swallowed the rest. Dad's breathing grew loud in the recording, ragged. No, come on." Then the tape shifted, as if the recorder had been bumped. Dad's voice became distant, shouting now. "I have her on the radio," he yelled. "I have her voice, I swear." The tape crackled. A man's voice responded, too muffled to understand. Dad's voice returned, tight with fury. "It's not a prank. It's not interference. She's alive somewhere." The child's voice came once more, faint and terrified. "Don't lock it." Marisol's hand flew to her mouth. I felt my whole body go cold. Dad's voice dropped to a whisper, like the words had hooked into him. "What? What door? Riley, what do you mean?" Then there was a loud burst of static, and the tape cut to a different moment. Maybe later, maybe hours. Dad spoke quietly now, exhausted. "We didn't find her. Nobody found her. The tide came in." He swallowed. The sound was wet. "But I heard her. I heard her again and again. Like she's stuck in the channel. Like she's..." He stopped. Then softer, almost to himself. "Like she's stuck somewhere nobody's looking." The tape clicked off with a harsh clunk as it reached the end. The truck was silent except for the rain ticking on metal. Marisol stared straight ahead, her face pale. I sat frozen, my mind a chaos of images. Riley's tooth-gap smile, the missing poster, Dad in his rain gear, the footprints in my room, the words on my closet wall. "What does 'don't lock it' mean?" I whispered. Marisol's voice came out hoarse. "I don't know," she said. "But your dad, he did. Or he thought he did." A wave boomed against the jetty, deep and hollow. In the silence that followed, the truck's radio, without power, without the cassette running, popped softly. Just once. And in that tiny pop, I thought I heard my name again, like a bubble breaking at the surface of water. Marisol started the engine with shaking hands. "We're going to my place," she said firmly. "You're not sleeping in that house tonight." "I need to go back," I said, though I didn't know why I said it. I didn't want to go back. But the house had something of mine now, my name in its mouth, my fear in its walls. Marisol shot me a look. "Not alone," she said. At her apartment above the bar where she worked, the air smelled like fryer grease and stale beer. It was warmer than Dad's house, but the warmth felt thin, like it could be punctured. Marisol poured me a glass of whiskey I didn't ask for. I held it between my hands and stared at the amber liquid as if it might explain things. "I never wanted to know more," Marisol admitted, sitting across from me at her small kitchen table. "About Riley, about any of it. Because what do you do with it if it's true? You can't fix it." "I left," I said, the words bitter in my mouth. "I did fix it. For me." Marisol didn't flinch. "Yeah, she said. You did, and good for you. But none of us got out. Not really. I thought of Dad's voice on the tape, tired, haunted, like he'd been carrying something heavy for years. Why didn't you tell me about the rumors? I asked. Marisol's gaze dropped. Because you were finally gone, she said. And because your dad was still alive. And because... She hesitated. Because sometimes when you say a thing out loud here, it becomes real in a way you can't ignore. I stared into my whiskey. It's real either way, I said. Marisol's mouth tightened. Yeah, she agreed. That night I lay on her couch, listening to rain and the distant muffled bass of the bar downstairs. Sleep came in shallow patches, full of fog and knocking. In one dream, I opened my childhood closet and it was full of seawater, cold and black. Something small floated just beneath the surface, hair waving like seagrass. When it opened its eyes, they were my eyes. I woke with my heart racing, my skin slick with sweat. From the hallway outside Marisol's apartment came 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, every muscle taut. Marisol's voice drifted from her bedroom, thick with sleep. Leah? The knocking stopped. A moment later, the bar downstairs erupted in laughter, and the normal noise swallowed the fear like a wave swallowing footprints. In the morning, Marisol drove me back to Dad's house. The fog had lifted slightly, but the air remained wet and cold. The house sat quiet on the bluff, porch light still on, mocking. We stood on the porch for a moment, both of us staring at the door like it might bite. You want to do this? Marisol asked. No, I said honestly. Then, after a beat, yes. Inside, the house smelled the same, cedar and coffee and sea. The living room recliner sat motionless. The hallway stretched toward my old room like a warning. We moved through the day doing normal tasks in defiance of fear. We sorted mail. We stacked Dad's clothes into bags for donation. We boxed up kitchenware. Marisol told stories about the town to fill the silence. Who'd married who'd moved away, who'd died. Names passed through the air like ghosts of their own. In Dad's bedroom, I finally opened the wooden box on the dresser. Inside were small objects arranged with unsettling care. A metal hair clip shaped like a starfish, tarnished. A child's plastic bracelet, faded pink. A square of yellow fabric, frayed at the edges, that looked like it had once been part of a raincoat. My stomach turned. Marisol leaned close, her breath catching. Oh my God, she whispered. I touched the yellow fabric. It was stiff, and it smelled faintly, impossibly, of salt. Why would he have these? I whispered. Marisol's face was tight. Unless... She started, then couldn't finish. The thought that rose between us was ugly. That Dad had done something to Riley. That he had taken her. That he had kept her. But the memories I had of Dad didn't fit that shape. He was distant, harsh, rigid, but not predatory. He'd never been good with kids, never gentle. But he'd volunteered for rescues. He'd pulled strangers from the water. He'd cussed and grumbled and still shown up. I felt torn between 2 versions of him, neither one comforting. I forced myself to breathe. There has to be another explanation, I said, though it sounded like pleading. Marisol's eyes were bright with fear. "Maybe he found her," she said quietly. "Maybe after. Maybe he found something that belonged to her." "I never told anyone," I said. Marisol nodded once, stiff. A gust of wind rattled the window pane. The house creaked. I suddenly remembered the tape on my desk. "I need to listen to the rest," I said, though I didn't know what the rest was. There might not be a rest.